Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Talk That Tech, the
Number one tech morning show in the world. Y'all
numero,
already know that though. So I'm still saying it, obviously.
numero uno.
Yes.
Tech Coach Ralph, I got to talk to you about getting a little bit more sound effects, even though I don't mind the air horn. But yeah, listen, y'all. Today is a day that we're gonna be talking about something that was pretty major. Uh, we're gonna get into it all day today. That's the conversation. And we definitely want you to, if you can, join into that conversation, chime in that conversation, and talk with us. Because today, it's not about just us talking today, it's about hearing your experiences because the topic at hand is something that affected everybody. But before we even get there, and I will drop the link in the chat if you don't see it. Basically, how was your weekend, Trey? Let's start there.
Well, my weekend was good, man. Just didn't get out a lot on Saturday because it was blazing, man, here in Texas, like scorching. So didn't really get out like that. Man, we kind of binge watched some episodes and stuff of TV, and Sunday went to church, obviously, and then after that we went and got dinner with quite a few family. We had some family in from Houston, and then we went over one of my cousin's house and played cards, spades and um, some other card games as well. But yeah, just had a good time, and then got ready for today this morning, and I'm in the game now. So that was the weekend for me. It was kind of chill, kind of um, happy, fun. But yeah, that was it, man. How about you?
No, it was good. It was good. Before I even do that, I got Darcel in the building. Good morning, fam.
Hey, good
Good
morning.
morning. Glad to have you. Listen, Darcel, feel free to share this with others because this is going to be a very interactive show. We're going to be talking a lot less than we normally do. This is for everybody to call into the show. You don't have to show your face, of course, but this is definitely one that everybody should be calling into the show. So listen, y'all, the link has been dropped. I just want to make sure y'all know the link has been dropped. So if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, in fact, I'm going to try to go to LinkedIn right now and see if I could drop it in the chat for you guys. We're encouraging y'all to call into the show. So that way, if you have any sort of experience that happened about the subject at hand this weekend and you want to share it, feel free to do so. Yep, the link has been dropped into LinkedIn as well. And we're about to get this show on the road. But yes, in regards to my weekend, honestly, it was kind of laid back. It was laid back because I had some work that needed to be done in the house. So it was a 2 day project. Had to do some like work in the bathroom, just painting over some stuff and so on and so forth. So that was my weekend. My weekend was all that today. And so I enjoyed it. I mean, it was good. What up, Tokes? What up, Kit Kat on Instagram? Glad you guys stopped by. Listen, if you guys want to jump on the show, this is going to be about Crowdstrike today. Definitely come over to YouTube. It's youtube.com/at Tech Niche Tips. It's an interactive show today where we all share your experiences from this past week. But yeah, so for me, bathroom renovation a little bit, if you want to call it that.
Mm,
But that was pretty much it for me on my end. But yeah, so it was just kind of one of those sort of weekends where it was a little bit laid back, laid back a bit. Um, but bro, man, I think we should get right into it, man, because
let's
I've been
do it.
hinting at it. I've been hinting at it, and I think we should kind of just talk about the subject and let everybody chime in when they can.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, bro. Listen, y'all. I'm pretty sure, that at some point you probably experienced this, or you heard about it. That's for sure. Like, let me let me get this up, bro. I
Yeah.
am slacking this morning. All right. So this morning we are talking about CrowdStrike. Okay. Now, if you were if you didn't experience it, you probably didn't know what was going on. You probably only heard about Microsoft. But if you did experience it, then you probably got some of the extra information, the extra deets, or you're just into it and you already know how to search for the information. But CrowdStrike, okay, they are the ones who have made an interesting splash last week, and it not in a good way. So, cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike, they faced worldwide IT disruptions due to a flawed update that they tried to make happen. All right. So this actually opened the doors for cybersecurity criminals to actually come in and distribute some malware. They were on it, y'all. They were quick with it. And so basically, that's what we're talking about this morning. Okay. There's it was such a widespread um, incident that there's enough information here to get into it for the whole show today. And I'm pretty sure we know some folks here in the audience who had some of those problems that we can talk about and talk about with them. So yeah, worldwide, y'all. When I say worldwide, Microsoft reported that the digital meltdown crippled 8.5 million Windows devices globally. Like, that's a lot of people, y'all, in one day. Not to mention, we had airports down. They control such a large portion of business that it was a lot of stuff down going on Friday. And so, yeah, let's just talk about that this morning. All right, and keep this thing going. But basically, CrowdStrike, they ended up recommending that impacted customers uh, make sure that they go through communication through official channels from now on. But nonetheless, what ended up happening, the well, I guess I gave that, but Spanish language instructions urge targets to run an executable file, right? A setup dot exe file to recover from the issue, and they were able to get that done. But yeah, I think we got someone in the audience who had some of these problems on Friday. Hopefully, oh, it's Darcel. Hopefully, he's able to pop on and give us a little bit about his experience or what exactly happened there for them. But yeah, that's what we're talking about this morning, y'all. The CrowdStrike aftermath and everything that it involved. Now, I must say, let's get this out of the way as well. Microsoft, or they were the ones hit, so their devices were the ones hit. Mac and Linux users or devices were not affected by the outage. They couldn't get through. So I think that's definitely worth saying and mentioning and getting out there as well. So if your company works off of Macs, you didn't even you didn't even experience anything. You had no clue it happened, and everything was going as normal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna add to it. What up, the Art of
yeah.
Solomon? So from a personal experience, I was not affected because where my team, most of my team members, we have options to kind of select which kind of computer we want when we first get hired. The majority of us chose
Hmm.
Mac, right?
Of course, of course.
And myself included. And so when it happened, I got an email from work early in the morning talking about, hey, if you're infected by this, let us know. Da 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 da. So I'm like, wait, what is this? So I did a quick look into it, but I was really focused on work that day. I'm not gonna lie. I did a really
Yeah,
quick,
yeah.
a really quick look at it, and then I saw like, oh snap, there's this huge outage. And the first thing you think of when you think of outage, you're thinking, oh, is this a cybersecurity attack? Wasn't the case at all. Great, right? But I was just like, oh my goodness, this basically was a situation where somebody made a mistake basically and had
Yeah.
this huge of an effect. What up, Crystal? Crystal's in
Hey,
the
hey.
building. Crystal Flex by Lex. So glad that you're in the building. We definitely want you, if you were affected by CrowdStrike, if you could call into the show. You don't have to show your face, but go ahead and share your experiences. That's what we're doing today. It's not necessarily, this is a different type of show we're doing today. We want to hear from y'all. We're not trying to we're trying to talk less and hear from y'all because this affected so many people. People were stranded in certain locations because of this. So definitely let us know again, if this is something that you wanted to, if you experienced and what your situation was. But I was just talking about mine. So for me personally, I wasn't personally affected drastically by it. My job wasn't, in regards to what we normally do. However, there are certain people that did use, Microsoft Computer, uh, and were affected at my job. They worked in a different area altogether, and so
Mm,
that was challenging. That was challenging. My biggest thing was I didn't realize, but you mentioned it just now, how many flights were affected by it until I started looking into it and seeing just people on Facebook, people, not really much on LinkedIn to be honest with you, but really my, at least from the people that I was connected to on Facebook, there are some people that were traveling that were like, oh dang, I'm stuck here, you know.
stranded.
Darcel, I'm gonna put up because he said it in the chat there. He said, listen, he said, my job issues Friday. My job had issues on Friday. My wife still hasn't gotten her check because of it. So now,
God.
yeah,
Oh,
you
I
got
didn't even know about that side of it.
yeah, and that's another side. That's why I was like, this show we gotta get people to call in because everybody in one shape or form was affected or know somebody that was affected. So the question is like, how are people going to bounce back from this? And Crystal said it here. I wasn't affected, but I work for a multi-cloud company, and we had a hella clients affected. My workday started at 6:45 a.m. and I closed my laptop at 8:50 p.m. Wow. So she
Mm,
was working. She was working, and that's
getting
another thing
to it.
too. I actually want to reach out to those that work support or work in some capacity, like yourself. Like, what was your experience like? And feel free to call into the show. Again, you do not have to put your camera on, but this is definitely a show where we're going to be sharing people's experiences and talking about that more than we did, more than anything else. This whole show is about Crowdstrike because this reminds me, even though it may not be as drastic, but in New York, and let me make sure I got the dates correct because even though I lived through it, I just want to make sure that I have it right. But there was a blackout. Oh yes, 2003. And I don't know if you, I don't know because I was in the Northeast. I don't know if you weren't really affected by it, but um,
Mm-mm.
for me, I remember just one day coming out. I'm walking in the city, and literally everybody's outside. It's in the summertime. It's hot, and so it actually was in August too. So that's a very hot time,
Dang.
and
Yeah.
everybody was just like, it was almost like, like the world stopped in New York City, and everybody got outside their building, and everybody was like, oh wait, what's going on? This kind of, in a smaller way, felt like that because literally you could not do anything. I mean, it was a blackout, right? So we went into the nighttime. It was dark. People were in candles and stuff like that. And thankfully, it didn't happen. It wasn't for a long time, so there was not like, at least not a whole bunch of anarchy. At least where I was, but it was just one
Mm,
of those experiences where it felt like the world stood still. And
man.
in some places, this felt like that for a lot of people, because they couldn't work, they couldn't do a lot of different things inside their work area. And then you have like Crystal, people that worked in the industry that were affected because now they have to push in so many times, so many hours just to get things done. So what were you gonna, your head, it looks like your head was spinning just now. You had thoughts
Yeah, it
coming in.
was, but then I realized I was like, wait, no, that show was based like in the 70s or something. What you were talking about reminded me of an episode of Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh,
Uh when
no, there was
it
multiple
was
ones too.
it was like some kind of blackout. And yeah, I mean, it was just obviously capturing the funny moments of him during that section or during that time of the
Yeah.
outage. But yeah, it had reminded me of that. But yeah, that's crazy, bro. Yeah, I had absolutely no clue about that one either. Being here in Texas, we hadn't had anything like that. Um, but
Like,
yeah, that's wild.
yeah, I mean, natural disaster. I know that Houston had something recent, a couple of years ago when there was a storm, the power grid went down. Like, like that. That's tough because it's natural disaster. But this shows
Yeah,
how
I got.
crippling. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say like you mentioning that it made me want to like search for a few others that kind of have on that same kind of scale of like wow, this is crazy that has happened in recent past. In 2020, apparently there was a solar wind supply chain attack, and so basically it affected thousands of organizations globally, including multiple government agencies, major corporations and institutions. And then there was a few others, a Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack in May of 2021.
Mm,
Uh, this is stuff I had no clue about. Like, I guess that was happening. It was a huge thing, but that didn't necessarily, affect us. But there were businesses. But
yeah.
on the Colonial Pipeline, supplies nearly half of the East Coast fuel. They were hit by a ransomware attack that forced companies to shut down operations for several days, obviously messing up a whole lot of stuff. The company ended up paying 4.4 million in ransom to get that control back of that system. A few others here. JBS Food ransomware attack, May to June of 2021. JBS,
Mm,
they're the largest meat processing company, right? And they were
wow.
targeted by ransomware, and it disrupted operations in North America and Australia, forcing the company to shut down all the beef plants. They had to pay $11 million in ransom to restore the operations back. And then last one here, uh, Kaseya VSA supply chain. That was July of 2021. And that attack, they're a provider of IT management software for a managed service provider, service providers, and basically they the supply chain attack affected up to 1,500 businesses worldwide, including a Swedish supermarket chain that had closed down hundreds of stores temporarily. But yeah, it's crazy because when you realize like, oh, it's a one thing to attack one company, right? But when they attack something that is also integrated in multiple businesses or businesses from different countries, like it can cause some crazy mess and mess some
Mhm.
stuff up. So yeah, that was just crazy and interesting to me.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go to the comment section because Crystal actually chimed in earlier. She says, "I'm in the gym, so I can't call in right now, but I work with clients who leverage the private cloud, so a lot of mission critical apps connected to Windows. True. I work with casinos and hospitals. Yeah, so
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of them do
they
run.
definitely own it.
Yeah, yeah." And then Crystal said, "Yes, the interconnectivity is crazy. So it's almost
Yeah.
like the thing about it is, it's almost as if like, listen, you may not even be in a complete environment, or you may not even use all of the situations, but because they're so connected, this is where it could get a little bit challenging. And that,
Yeah.
and you mentioned earlier, this is why in a lot of places of monocultural supply chains that might be questioned down. Yes, did you see the Vegas spear? I'm gonna find that image. It was, I mean, I don't want to laugh out loud with that one, but yes, it's so true. Like I saw that and I was like, dang. And for those that do not know, I'm gonna pull
I
up on
haven't
the
seen it.
screen. Yeah, it's just it's okay, I'll show this image right now. But you probably, if you got a chance to see it, basically what happened was, because they're connected, the blue screen is literally
Ah,
all that you see from the spear.
OMG.
So it just kind of shows how long reaching this was. But yes, for those who didn't see, this is basically what it was looking like. So for those that did, were passing by Vegas, it's like, excuse me, this is the issue that
What
happened
is
at
this?
hand.
What
So
is this big bubble?
yeah, this is big, exactly. So the blue screen of death with the sad face. I mean, literally,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
might be a picture that is locked down in history, as well,
for
because
sure.
it just shows you just how far reaching this was. Because normally the spear looks like how this image looks like on the right with all the colors and stuff like that. If you've seen the spear, it's a pretty amazing thing, and it was reduced to the blue sad face. So man, listen, Crystal, if you have anything you want to chime in regards to like the aftermath, like what you're experiencing on your end, definitely would love to hear about that, because there's actually, I remember seeing a comment, a report by somebody who basically said, 3 years ago, they were telling their company, let's not do this, let's not be solely on using CrowdStrike, and now they're like, oh
Mm,
man, that definitely looked well. And so, listen, y'all, for those that are new, this is a call-in show today, because there's just so many people that were affected by CrowdStrike. So if you want to put in the comments and you can't necessarily get on the phone, that's fine. But if you do want to call on the phone, listen, you are totally fine to do so as well. You don't have to put your camera on. You don't have to show your face. But I know if it's something that bothers you, definitely let us know. Chime into the show. I'm not gonna call his name out because he's not here. But the first person I thought of that might be challenged with this is one of our regular guests on the show,
Mm.
because he's a firm, um, what's the word I would like to say? Advocate for the other, and definitely not a fan of Mac. So I was like, man, I wonder if he'll even make the show. He probably not. He's probably the reason why he's not here today.
Still experiencing.
Still experiencing
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Yeah, another thing about it is that former computers, right, which I think you mentioned, those are the ones that are affected by it. They can't do anything about it. They get, I believe they have to get new computers altogether.
Oh,
So
are
that's gonna
you
be tough.
serious?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody. And correct me if I'm wrong, Crystal, but from my research, the ones that are affected. Like that's it. And it's like a whole bunch of computers that need to be done. Oh, Crystal says these companies push being locked in with one vendor. You absolutely need multiple for situations like this. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, multiple, they play well together. So yeah,
Yeah,
I,
that
I
but dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally agree.
dude, that's interesting. If they had to get all new computers and stuff, man, this could take out some companies. Like,
It's to be very expensive. Yeah, I mean, to be
interesting.
honest with you, I'm looking to see in the next couple of days what the aftermath looks like. I mean, we had the weekend alone to kind of go through it,
Hmm.
but it's a lot for a lot of people. Like Darcel just mentioned, his wife still hasn't gotten her check. How
Yeah,
many other
that
people are waiting on their
dude.
stuff like that?
I mean, just imagine how many people are waiting on that check that probably, hey, I need to use this for something, and then boom,
Yeah,
can't even get it,
yeah,
and it's not your fault.
yeah.
Um, Another thing I was just thinking about, are they gonna go back to Windows computers, or are they gonna switch over to uh, Apple? Like, what do you do? Do you like, oh man, no Apple products were, or Mac products were affected? Like, do
Yeah,
we just stay on Windows because we
yeah.
probably have a deal to be able to get multiple at a discounted rate, or do we go over to Mac, which probably, if you're a business, you can definitely get another discounted rate as well. But uh like, I wonder, does business go up for Apple after that?
Or does
Like,
Linux
should
rise
I
up?
do I mean, Linux definitely, um they have an interesting base, or
Hmm.
of users, that it's eclectic, I would say,
Hmm.
so I don't know if I don't know when they'll hit like mainstream, like for biz. I don't know. It's because it's a different
What up, Ronnie?
interface and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but Mac, there's you can definitely, I could definitely see people, like, hey, you know what, we're gonna use this time to kind of make that switch.
Hmm.
You know,
It may not be a full switch though. Like Crystal said, it may be a situation where people are going to mix it up. And
yeah,
Crystal actually said no, they weren't. We both, and they were a lot of people getting locked out of Windows, but Mac users had no issues. I noticed they give
right,
Windows in the US and Mac in the UK from my company. Um,
yeah,
I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be like, okay, we can't trust one, so let's have a mix up. So like, if this happened in the future again, we have options. Because that's what happened. At least on my end, a lot of salespeople were good, and so basically that was good. Oh, the question was, I got a question on IG. What caused the CrowdStrike effect? So it basically was an update. Believe
yeah.
it or not, it was an
A
update that
simple
unfortunately,
update.
yeah, simple update that unfortunately crippled. It didn't update correctly, obviously, and it unfortunately crippled the entire system. So I'm thinking about the person that said, "Okay, time to update." Oh, I mean, like you
Yeah,
can't put that on your resume afterwards. Like I
nah,
caused a global outage. So yes, it wasn't a cybersecurity attack, folks. It was literally an update that went wrong.
yeah.
And so that was
Inside of the update, or let me put it like this: the hackers, then, which this is, we can talk about this coming up here, I guess, after you go through some of the bulletin board. But
yeah.
inside of the update, hackers were able to, not inside of it, but once it was done, they were able to come in and kind of wreak havoc from there.
Yeah. So, and that's something we're going to dive into in a moment. But yeah, that's basically what happened, man. It was literally an update that caused this, and so if I don't want to get shut, I don't want us to get shut down, but I would literally show the video of how many people were stuck at the airport, how many things were going on.
Damn,
It was crazy.
we should be we
Uh,
should be good with that
yeah,
video.
yeah. But Crystal said, well, what happened with the update? Let me put up here. It didn't go clear. Was it compromised and decrypted? I think it.
Yeah, so
From
let's
my
once
research,
you I do have it, but once you I think well, I know you say you want to do the bulletin board, and then we can get into
yep.
how the hackers took advantage of the outage.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna run and do that real quickly. But before we do that, we're gonna go ahead and do the bulletin board. So the bulletin board, if you're not aware of, this is our local, not local, but this is our because it's definitely not local to me or to Trey. It's something
Digital.
that's around. It's digital. It's our digital. Yes, that's the perfect word to use. Our digital uh, access to different events that are going on and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure you're aware of these events so that way you can truly enjoy or reap the benefits of interacting in that case in these different events that are going on. So while I load that up here, y'all, definitely though it's not gonna be a long time. I'm not gonna be really quick. So definitely stay with us as I go through this. But the first one we have is from Now to Tech Pro. It's a panel mixer that's July 23rd in Miami, Florida. The cost is $0. So you definitely want to look into that, especially if you're in an event. It's gonna be from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Red Rooster Overtown 920 Northwest 2nd Avenue. So if this is something that is of interest to you, definitely go ahead and check that out. Again, this is going to be happening July 23rd. So that is tomorrow. Tickets do end soon. So you definitely need to look into that if this is something that is of interest to you. Um, Following that, we have Black Code Collective Algorithms. That's actually going to be July 24th in Arlington, Virginia. And the cost for that is only $10. So you want to take advantage of that as well. Go ahead and check it out in regards to this event. If you're in the software development space, they actually have a coding challenge, whether it's whiteboarding in front. This is happening on the 24th. So again, that's about 2 days away. Definitely look into that if this is something that appeals to you. Then we have the national, excuse me, a little paint from this weekend. Hopefully, it's getting out of my system. The National
No,
Urban League Conference. No, I know, right? The National Urban League Conference of the 24th, July 24th to the 27th. So this is actually a multiple day event. This event is coming. They actually have a virtual career fair. It's on Tuesday, and it's going to be, if you're in the area in New Orleans, this is going to be $445 to be a part of this particular event. But you could still register and join. There's a lot going on with that. So they may have other options if you cannot locally be there. But go ahead and check that out if you are in the area. Excuse me. And if this is something that appeals to you. So next we have on this is the BTS funding mechanisms and strategies. This is July 26th, and this is actually free. A virtual event. So definitely check that out if you are looking into it. Tickets do end soon, so definitely check that out. The 26th. They also have something on the 2nd and the 9th. And basically, this helps with regards to learning about funding. It's a virtual lunch and learn. And so if you're interested in that, if you have a business and you're trying to expand and grow, especially a business in the tech arena, this is something that you may want to be looking into. But last and not least, because listen, I said I wasn't going to be here long. We have Connect event. It's called Connect Evolve. Connect Evolve. This is actually in Dallas, Texas, July 22nd. It's a one-day event, but it really ranges from 75 to 175 in regards to price. And if you want to get involved with this, it offers unique opportunities for high net professionals unwind, learn, and connect. And so if you are in the area in Dallas, definitely check that out. You're going to have a great time. So that is it for the bulletin board. And then we're going to get right back to the show. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of what's going on, especially if it's in your neck of the woods, so that you could reap the benefits of it. So go ahead and check out blacktechglobal.com for more, our premier directory for all tech events. All right. So now we're
Yes.
going back to the show. Dang, I really am coughing
Yeah.
this morning. It's crazy.
Oh man.
So,
Hopefully,
but
that paint ain't in you, man.
well,
Hopefully.
listen, I try not to be there too long. But yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, back to the show. Yeah, so as we were talking about before, like mentioned earlier, there was an update that really caused this, and unfortunately, people took advantage of that update, and it wasn't fun. So Trey, I'm gonna let you finish what we're talking about, and then everybody else, go ahead, call into the show, let us know your experiences from this event and what happened on your end. So
Yeah. So we had some questions. What happened with the update? What compromised and or was it compromised and then decrypted? Like what was the deal there, right? So here's how the hackers took advantage of the outage, and basically we got some info from the what is it? The hackernews.com, PC Mag, Wired, BBC, right? And then NBC New York. Sorry, NBC New York. So this is information compiled from all of them. But basically, y'all, and stay with me here. But basically, what happened? CrowdStrike, they released a flawed update that ended up opening the gate for these cyber criminals to exploit what was going on. And so basically, here's what they did. It started with, or they also had, they mainly targeted Latin America customers. Okay, but obviously it's not just them. We had some stuff here too. But they distributed a malicious zip archive named CrowdStrike dash hotfix.zip. All right. Now that archive contained a malware loader called Hijack Loader. All right. Also known as a DOI loader or IDAT loader. All right. It also the Remcoast RAT or remote access Trojan payload, and then a text file with Spanish instructions urging targets to run an executable like situation there. All right. So that was the distribution of the malware. Then they had phishing campaigns. So hackers launched phishing attempts by sending emails posing as CrowdStrike customer support. Okay, these emails aim to deceive users asking that were asking for assistance during the outage. Another thing they were doing, domain impersonation. So you have malicious actors quickly setting up typo squatting domains to impersonate CrowdStrike. Examples of suspicious domain registered included D strike. Hold on. It was D strike uescreen.com or crowdstrike0.com. Like literally, it looks extremely fishy, but obviously they were working, right? They know what works. But social engineering. Some attackers impersonated CrowdStrike staff or other tech specialists attempting to get the login credentials from affected users. They offered fake assisting to exploit the confusion caused by the outage. And then you had fraudulent services. So the criminals were also advertising services to companies affected by the issue, requesting cryptocurrency payment in return. Really? But that's what was going on. Fake software patches. So attackers, they distributed counterfeit software patches claiming to fix the issue caused by CrowdStrike outage. Targeted attacks. The campaign primarily focused on Latin American-based CrowdStrike customers, and as evidenced by Spanish language files and instructions in the malicious zipware. And then last one, exploiting IT professionals. So, hackers specifically targeted IT managers and professionals who were frantically trying to resolve the outage issues, as they were more likely to fall for the scams promising quick fixes. All right. So, yeah. interesting stuff there. Um, the people who are masters at what they do when it comes to that to cyber criminals, they know how to work quickly, and they know what kind of what works. Unfortunately, it makes sense on why you would probably go after an IT manager or someone who is trying to get this thing resolved quick
Yeah.
versus somebody like just a regular worker who is like, yeah, hey man, get it done when you get it done. I'll be here, like
Yeah.
ain't giving you
Yeah.
nothing.
And for the I sorry, I assumed that people were aware of the situations, so that wasn't a smart thing. So just to break this down to see how ironic this is, if y'all didn't know, Crowdstrike is a cybersecurity company, and its update was, caused by faulty code, right? And the whole purpose of the update was to strengthen and make sure that the cybersecurity, uh, everything that's running well and smooth, so that they wouldn't be hacked, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so just to keep it simple, right? And so
Hmm.
the fact that this did happen, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, dang, this is ironic,
Yeah.
because this is not what you would expect. You're really kind of thinking like, hey, first of all, the fact that everything's connected to this one thing, that's one area, right? And secondly, it's just kind of like, man, faulty code. It shows you why we need you developers in this world, because
Yeah.
literally the power that you guys hold, those that are in, especially those that are QA testers and things of that nature, you guys are needed, because if this was checked properly, if something would happen, maybe somebody would have caught it, and then this would not have happened. But it's definitely shows. Now we're going to talk about that actually, because it's a part of our Brow Box special. But it shows the power of just how the after fact. No, people got stranded. Yes, people lost their checks, but this produced an opportunity for hackers to take advantage of it. And so, vulnerabilities
Yeah.
is basically the name of the game here. So yeah, pretty sad all around. But listen, y'all, like
Yes.
I mentioned earlier, especially if you're new, this is a special episode of the show where we're basically allowing people to call into the show throughout the entire show to share their experiences. Again, this is less about us talking too much about the subject and more about listening and hearing your experiences as well. So, what I'm going to kind of dive into really quickly is that there actually are some startups, and this is brought to you by TechCrunch. So there are some startups that are merging that hopefully prevent this from happening again. These sort of outages or these sort of situations and vulnerabilities. The faulty software update from CrowdStrike that we know of that caused a global outage across various sectors like airlines, hospitals, and banks. As you mentioned, Crystal mentions casinos as well. Venture capitalists spot an opportunity in new technologies to prevent such wide-scale outages from happening again. And the outage highlighted the importance of innovative cybersecurity solutions and the need to monitor software like fleet and IT management. So, security experts emphasize the need for monitoring the watchers in the cyber world to prevent such disasters. Disaster wasn't caused by malicious hackers, but again, it was raised concerns about over reliance on a kernel level access by tech companies. So companies like Wiz and Alico Security are introducing non-invasive security solutions to prevent similar instances in the future. VCs predict a shift towards safer, non-invasive approaches for cybersecurity solutions in the wake of this outage, and I think that's where a lot of companies are going to see. And that's what the world lives on. Like if there's a problem, if you can find solutions to it, especially one of this wide scale, that's where you're going to see it. Now, unrelated to this, and I'm going to pass it to you after this, Trey, but
Hmm.
unrelated to this situation, I know we have a mutual friend who basically he sells cybersecurity as one of the things that he does, and so he reached out to a casino, and I'm just using this as an example.
Yeah.
The casino said, "Nobody, we're good. Thank you for your unsolicited advice in why we need to upgrade X, Y, and Z." And he basically said, "Okay, that's cool." And it wasn't was it even a month or 2 months later? I'm not too sure. All I can tell you right now is that they were hacked, and they were knocking on his door, and so it was crazy. What up, Ferris? We got Ferris in the building, bro.
Oh, what's going on, man?
We gonna need you to call into the show, uh, because this right here, what we're talking about, is literally might be, something that might have affected you. So if you see the link to call into the show, I'm gonna drop it again. but definitely this is a call-in show for today for sure, where we want to hear people who were affected by the outage, and sharing their experiences. But yeah, so going back to that situation, going back to that story, basically what happened was that they came a knocking. They came a knocking because of what happened. And so all that to say is that when a situation like this arises where multiple people are affected, multiple companies are affected, there it creates, and I'm sorry to say it like this, but it creates an opportunity. It creates an opportunity for others who
Always.
are looking to say, "Hey, you saw what happened. You don't want that to happen to you again." And because of that fear, honestly, um, everybody kind of says, "Hey, I'm jumping on this," or "Hey, do you have the solution?" You know. So that's one of the things I wanted to point out is that this ripple effect that's going to happen from this is going to lead either companies to start looking into this that never looked into this before, or actually going to form brand new companies where this is going to be part of their offering. So, what's good, fellas? Yeah, Tech Coach Ralph, I'm gonna need you calling on this one too because you're a QA tester, and the Brown Box Special is going to talk a little bit about something that happened. But yeah, definitely call into the show, bro, because this is exclusively a call-in show where we're talking about CrowdStrike, the cybersecurity company that had a faulty code, according to
Yes.
the reports, that caused for this global outage that affect people. We have people that didn't get checks, Tech Coach Ralph and Paris. We have people that were stranded in certain areas that couldn't go home. Some people even internationally. So this was a far-reaching effect, and one of our brothers isn't here. Won't say any names, but we know he's anti-Mac, so we probably won't never see him. Jawan, what up, Jawan? We got Jawan the techie on Instagram, and we have Chris Akpala. Thank you both for stopping by. We're talking about CrowdStrike. This is a call-in show today, so this is basically y'all to call in to share your grievances and thoughts about the global outage. And so we have none other than Ferris on the line here. Don't worry, you don't have to show your face, but we're probably gonna need your audio. So once you get connected there, we're gonna bring you on board and have you ready to share your thoughts. Again, I'm not gonna say any names. I'm just gonna post your comment here.
You said it. Yeah, you said it, not us.
You said it, not us. So hopefully he's all right. You gotta check on your boy, man. Get his phone number, call him, see what happened to your boy.
He probably he got so much he got so much Android stuff. He's out of commission.
He might be pulling out his hair right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, all good. Yeah. And so yeah, definitely want to hear your thoughts, y'all. Feel free to call on Tech Coach Ralph as well if you can. But yeah, this is I'm laughing because I'm thinking the visual of him like, oh no, he's like,
while we're waiting on Ferris audios to come in, I'll tell quick. I was talking with my cousin yesterday, and she lives in Houston. She was just up in the area for a few days, but yeah, she was telling me that literally she works with Chase Bank, and she's on the private client side. So she does the transfers and stuff for like the big money and stuff. And she was saying how that she came into work and couldn't even get in the computers, right? So it's like one of those things. It's like, it's not just that's big business. Like, there are people who because I didn't even just talking to her right then, I'm thinking like, even if you're doing big business on the private client side, that you're still just like, oh, let me I need to make a $200,000 transfer to this company overseas, that you just kind of do it through your phone. But apparently they still use email. Then they have to call the client and make sure that transfer is real and all that kind of stuff, and get some information, then send it. So imagine all the business that couldn't get done and conducted on that single day. And it's crazy, man.
Yeah. And I'm gonna bring up Tech Coach Ralph right now to the stage. What up, brother? Tech Coach Ralph is in the building.
What's happening,
man?
What's up, guys?
Must have been quite an interesting weekend.
What's
for
happening?
You. But y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool, perfect. Yeah, it was interesting. I was following it along on a Friday. Everybody thought it was like some type of cybersecurity thing. But you know, I mean, I always say like, don't attribute malice to what can easily be explained with incompetence. So
Mm,
what it is.
that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
I was one of the first things that after we found out that it was just like what they released, it was like, well, what were the testing protocols? How, like, I don't understand, like, how does this go out and it brings everything down? But I also heard people were like, oh, Microsoft. People were trying to blame Microsoft for it, right? And I'm like, it's not really Microsoft's thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was the head, but you know how people are, the headlines, man. Like, yo, do I go with Crowdstrike, which almost nobody, you know, unless you're in the space or you know, do I go with them that no one knows, or hey, everybody know Microsoft?
Yep.
This is gonna get clicks, you know.
I had never heard of Crowdstrike before this. I was like, what else Crowdstrike?
and doing numbers behind the scenes, but that's the thing, right? So it's like, you know, you got most of the like population has no clue who Crowdstrike is, doing numbers, all these businesses, all the, you know, all these companies, or hey, everybody knows Microsoft, let's throw that out there, you know, and get this thing rolling. And it worked.
Yeah.
Something I was wondering is like, all right, so I mean, I guess a lot of people who talk about it, they don't really know about how tech and operating systems and all that stuff work. So the things that they're like, oh, regulations, stuff like, well, how do you regulate what company what companies choose to use for their operating systems, the software that they use, the cyber, like the antivirus stuff that they use? Are you gonna say like, all right, well, this 25% of companies need to use this software, this 25% need to use this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like let's chop this thing up so everybody doesn't go down. Yeah. That's wild.
Listen, y'all. Before we continue, it's a good question. Before we continue, I'm gonna bring up Faris, so we're gonna have everybody on at the same time, and then I'm also gonna pose a question to y'all. We got Oris in the building as well. Good morning, Oris. So glad you're here with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. But I'm going to pose this question because this is a question from Jawan the Techie on Instagram, but I think it's something that we all should probably look at. And I got Faris in the building. What up, Faris?
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Good. Glad to have you. And before we get into your experience, I want to answer this question from Jawan the Techie. He said, I had a question. Do we need some form of non-tech resilience based on this incident? While something so simple could cause such a huge disruption. So I want to get your thoughts on that, y'all. What, in regards to this attack, what should we change or do differently?
I mean, I think they did have some sort of non-tech resilience. They just had to go back to like pencil and paper. And I mean, for some things, there's nothing they could do, but they probably weren't like. So I understand, like, all right, you missed your flight, that sucks and stuff like that, but it's not really the end of the world. People have been missing their flights, cancel flights for whatever from before this one particular incident happened. But for critical things, I think like they said in hospitals and stuff, the nurses had to go back looking at their charts instead of looking at the computer. There's always some kind of backup in place, based on the level of risk that's involved. So at the end of the day, 3 days later, I don't know how much people are still talking about it.
Well, Faris,
and people are still going to keep using CrowdStrike. They're still going to keep using Microsoft.
Oh, that's a fact.
Like just the same way people still use T-Mobile, AT&T, everything else that's been hacked, people still use it.
Yeah. StubHub, what is it? Ticketmaster, here we come.
Yeah.
So, Faris, I wanted to get your thoughts on that before I get your experiences as well.
Yeah, so I think in terms of building more resilience, it's really, if it's within the company's budget, to have essentially more vendors, not just only use CrowdStrike as a sensor, right? So not being vendor locked in is number one thing. That's the key thing here. And what happened is, I believe CrowdStrike owns 16% of the market, essentially. So that's a large chunk, and a lot of companies, I think for the most part, can't afford to have more than one sensor. So if you have Microsoft Azure, for example, or Defender, that's another sensor you can have. So that would cover most of your bases, essentially, not relying on one cloud service. Don't use only AWS. Also have Azure or Google. So that's really the key thing there. And on CrowdStrike side of things, I don't think they did a quality assurance test. They just push out an update. There was I was reading an article where it was just all zeros when they looked at the code. So
Mm.
yeah, that's probably more tech coach Ralph's field. But you don't have to be a coding genius to see all zeros that look kind of weird.
Little suspect.
Yeah, a little suspect. Yeah.
So yeah, I was going to ask you as a QA tester yourself, Tech Coach Ralph, what were your initial thoughts when you heard about the faulty code?
I mean, they definitely had a testing failure on multiple levels. I mean, more than a testing failure, because before it even gets to QA, there's going to be some tests that the engineers are doing to make sure they run a series of tests to make sure that they call them unit tests to make sure all of those are passing. And then once those work, then they're going to pass it over to the QA testers to make sure that like it's not breaking. I'm not 100% familiar with like the whole CrowdStrike and Microsoft integration, but I'm gonna assume what probably happened was the version they tested it on, it worked, right? But it's different than what's probably everyone else has out there. So it's probably based on a particular operating system, a version of Windows. That file that they overwrote or deleted, it ended up causing that blue screen. The fix itself is pretty easy, but it's very tedious because it's not a fix that you can do over the air. You need to actually go like log into the computer into safe mode and delete one particular file, and then everything's gonna come back to normal. But that actually takes manual intervention, which most people, you try to walk them through it, they're not gonna know how to do it. So like I'm just assuming like they didn't have a wide variety of tests. They say, oh, if it works on this particular version, it's going to work on all versions, and then it caused this whole thing to happen.
I wonder if that's one of those things like, you get to a certain size and you get so big that you stop doing everything, or not everything, but you don't really do like how you used to do things. You kind of slack off a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if it's one of those things.
It's easy because like I'll tell you this. You will think I'm just changing like this number from a 33 to a 34, right? Like, oh, it's like, and then you do your basic test. It's running. You're not running a full suite, and then all of a sudden, everything crashes and burns. Like, crap. So that's why it's important to always make sure that you, and we measure like what is the risks of doing something, but sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes it shuts down all the airports and hospitals.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to you, Ferris. I wanted to see what was your experience like Friday. Were you affected by the outage, and if so, what happened?
Yeah, I'll try to speak on what I can speak. But overall, I was on call, so that was fun, and pretty much our systems weren't too affected. It didn't shut down our entire business operations, so that was pretty good since we mostly use Macs and Linux machines. But some people do use Windows. Predominantly, we had a branch that's abroad in Asia, and they use basically Windows only. So they were affected, and pretty much we have to like get those systems back up. As Ralph said, it's pretty much manual because the problem is, for example, if someone had their computer on overnight, the updated pushed automatically. If good practice is turn off your computer after you finish work, most people don't do that. So the people that had their computer off weren't affected. So it wasn't the entire organization. It was just really people that left their computers on. So the key thing is to find out what's the scope of the people affected, an accurate estimate. And I would say overall, over 10,000 endpoints, only 600 roughly was affected. So what's that, 6%? So it wasn't that bad. But it did take about 10 hours to go through each one. We couldn't just do a group policy and just send out an update deleting the file automatically, because you have to go into safe mode, or they weren't connected to the internet. So yeah, the key thing is just really making sure the critical infrastructure was up and running. Any data centers that runs Windows servers, any anything that was critical that run Windows, those were the key things. And then afterwards, you could bring it down from severity 1 to severity 2, essentially, after that point.
Gotcha. And thank you for letting us know. Like that, I think that's the case too for a lot of companies, my company included, where business operations didn't go to complete halt. It was just a certain group of people that were affected by it. And so that is good. But then there are also other industries that it really did affect a lot of things. But like you said, it's not the first time people were stranded from a flight that got delayed. So I still feel sorry for the person that didn't get paid because of it, because that was one of the comments that we had earlier. Somebody didn't get their check on Friday. Things like that could affect people. But y'all, thank you so much for letting us know your thoughts, man. And y'all, if you have any more, we're gonna wrap the show pretty quickly, and y'all can stay on for this one because it's gonna be pretty quick. But this was something I found scoping the places, of all places, Reddit, because I was like, I wonder what happened. This is our brown box special, and this has to specifically do with Crowdstrike of all places. But one person commented, in 2023, Crowdstrike laid off a couple hundred people, including engineers, devs, and QA testers, under the return to office excuse, aged like milk, according to them. What do you think about that? Do you think that that had a play to do with what's going on today? Was the layoffs that they had last year?
No.
They probably kept some people. They kept some good people.
I was about to say, like, I don't think so either. I think that even though they probably did do that, they still had enough to run operations. I mean, it shouldn't have crippled them like that. So, but I just thought it was a funny comment that somebody made. So
that is funny.
It is. Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. But listen, y'all, thank you so much for rocking with us on this episode of Talk That Tech. We're so excited that you guys are with us. Probably in the future, we might do more call-in shows here and there about particular large conversations like this. And feel free to know that you are invited to the conversation. Again, the goal, the hope of the show is to get to be there one day where literally we have a line of people calling in about a particular topic that actually resonates with them, so they can share their experiences, especially something like this, where it has affected so many different people. But listen, y'all, thank you guys for rocking with us. Those that are in the comment section as well, thank you guys for coming through as well. Or Reese, Crystal, everybody else, Jawan the Techie on IG, as well as a few others that came through. So thank you guys for rocking with us. Again, this is Talk That Tech, the
#1 tech morning show in the world.
Thank you so much, y'all. Peace and elbow grease.
Oh, we